So a second ago, we talked about the food quality, and we also talked about the water quality and all these things that are helping the immune systems of the fish, etc. Are those two connected in any way?
Emphatically, absolutely emphatically. A cheaply made, poorly formulated food can have a profound impact on the water quality, which can then, not only can we be having problems of malnourishment in the fish, in that they're not getting the essential nutrients that they need, because fish are then so much more intimately associated with their environment than us terrestrial animals are. That undigested food is still just going to decay in the water, and it's then going to pollute the water and start to stress the fish, which leads to depression of the immune system. So really, it all starts with a good quality food. So how a food can be poor in quality, if we're looking at, if we look at something like the protein concentration, so we've got our pot of fish food and it says it's 31% protein or something. Much more important, well, no, okay. The level of protein is important, and the balance of protein to fat is really important as well. But also of equal importance is the protein quality, because hair and fingernails are protein. It's collagen and keratin. But that collagen and keratin protein is largely indigestible. But then, fish meal, albumin, and casein from are proteins that are much more digestible. So if a protein is undigestible, if I was to maybe make a fish food that's got 31% protein in, but that protein has come exclusively from feather meal. And now feather meal is a byproduct of poultry processing. Obviously, in around the world, we eat an awful lot of chicken, but we don't eat the feathers. So what happens to the feathers? It goes into feather meal. And that feather meal can then go, it can be used for animal feeds. But you might put a very small amount of a hydrolyzed feather meal into the food to bulk up the protein level without any impact on the health of the animal. But I could easily make a really cheap fish food, Dave's fish food, that's 50p a pot, and a pot is a kilo, and but my protein is feather meal, which is dirt cheap because it's a waste product. You're not going to know as a consumer what the protein is. You might go and look down at the ingredients and say, the ingredients, the only protein is feather meal, but a lot of people wouldn't do that. They just look at the protein concentration and go, that's okay. So I'm feeding this indigestible protein to the fish, just passes straight through them. There's no way they can break down those really complex bonds in the collagen and keratin that makes up feather meal to then release the amino acids that make up that protein. That's what we're trying to do when we're digesting that protein, is cleaving off the amino acid building blocks that make up that protein, so we can assemble those amino acids into new proteins, the proteins that make up the fish, rather than the proteins that made up the feathers or the albumin in the egg or the fish meal from another fish, for example. So if that food is being undigested, what's happening is it passes all the way down the gastrointestinal tract to the fish, and it passes out in the feces, and then it starts to rot in the water. That rotting in the water uses up oxygen. In the winter, it's not the end of the world, because we know fish don't need anywhere near as much oxygen in the winter in colder water. We also know that cold water can hold a lot more oxygen than warm water. But in summer, that could be a real problem, where we've got big, thick layers of rotten, really poorly digested fish food collecting at the bottom of the pond in the filter chambers and all that sort of thing. And that's just rotting in the water. That uses up oxygen. The protein, as it rots, is giving off ammonia. Protein is 16% nitrogen. So for every, gram of protein, 16% of that is nitrogen destined to become ammonia. That ammonia is then toxic. It's got to be converted to nitrite to nitrate. So if our filter system is efficient enough to process that ammonia with no lag, no ammonia lag or nitrite lag, it goes straight to nitrate, then we've just got a soaring nitrate level in the pond. And that means that pond's quite likely to go green in the summer, which is not a pleasing thing at all. That there's going to be lots of phosphates in that uneaten, that poorly digested fish food as well. So it's not just quantity, it's quality that's really important. And when we see really cheap bargain fish foods, we've got to be asking where have the cost savings been made, and what is going to be the implication of that on the welfare of my fish, but the quality of the pond or aquarium environment as well. Also, I mean, a much more crude level then, if, a poorly formulated food, it could have been made in a really cheap kind of way. We could have got a really poorly extruded pellet, for example, where the starch levels in the pellet are inappropriate. We haven't got the right level of gelatinization around the pellet, so those pellets break up really easily. So we put the pellets into the pond and they just sort of disintegrate on the surface of the pond. So maybe they are moderately nutritious to the fish, but they just become dust in the water very quickly. And we haven't got, plankton feeding fish in our pond. They're expecting to feed on solid items. So we've got a reasonably nutritious food going in, but it just crumbles when it hits the water. So then we've just got lots of uneaten fish food building up in the water, causing the same problems as we had before. So yeah, the food quality really lies at the heart of fish welfare and environmental quality as well in any fish system, a pond, an aquarium, a large closed fish farm, anywhere. It's crucial.